Hello, South Africa. This is Kasi Legacy podcast. Our guest today is Mr. Miles Bhudu, the entrepreneur and the unionist and a philanthropist in our communities, a legend himself. My name is Clement Diale, Kasi Legend Podcast. Baba Miles, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Diale.
It's been a long time.
Yes, I was in exile.
Yeah, in
Exile, not exile.
yeah, inside.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's within the country.
Sure.
Yeah. So, your movement, where did it all start?
Well, it started in 1987 when I was in prison myself at Modabi prison.
Yes.
You must be reminded that I was arrested and charged for what was then called huisbraak met die opset om te steel en diefstal.
You're 7 years.
6,5 jaar.
Yeah. So sorry for interruption. Your motivation to start this union?
Look, when I was in prison, I'm by nature and professionally, I'm a laboratory technician, laboratorium technicus.
Yeah.
I worked at Cecil too. I started there as a laboratory assistant and then as a laboratory analyst.
Yeah.
And then I had to be promoted after I completed a 3.5-year diploma in analytical chemistry, and then I became a laboratory technician. So I was fired after I've completed my studies because I became more revolutionary. I became more, they call it destructive.
Yes.
I was fighting for the rights of my black brothers who had the same qualifications,
Yes.
but could not be allowed to enter the laboratory to do any analysis on petroleum samples.
Yeah.
They were called upon to go and collect some of the raw materials in the plant.
Yeah.
And because me being classified as another colored or an other colored under clearling, I had the privilege then to work and wear a white overall with Indians and white guys.
Oh, yes.
So the hatred started there, but before I even ended up in that laboratory, I was just against all the other things that was tantamount to oppression, discrimination, and degradation. So after finishing my studies, the reason why they decided to let me go and do further studies was to try and silence me.
Okay.
But it worked the other way around.
All right.
I became even more rebellious after I'm finished with my studies.
So, but within the space, we hear that you wanted to be a teacher before.
Well, you see, those days there wasn't this thing called a guidance, study guidance.
Yeah.
Where you were guided from an early age in your secondary school career.
Yeah.
To be guided until you finish your matric, because those days we were talking about matrics. Now they talk about grade 12.
Yes.
There were no proper study guidance.
Oh, yeah.
And one ended up following the crowd.
Yeah.
That's why I ended up doing math, science, biology, Afrikaans, and Engels, and history.
So we're sitting in our living rooms. Suddenly there is this row out there on the televisions. There's a gentleman with chains on. How did it start? What motivated that?
Well, when I was released from prison, I promised my fellow inmates that I was not going to leave the struggle that we started at Modabi lying.
Yes.
And by the way, the establishment of the South African Prisoners Organization for Human Rights came as a result of the last Delmas trialists that were Mkhonto Sizwe, political detainees that were held also in Modabi, but in a different section. They encouraged us to form a structure that was going to infiltrate and neutralize prison gangsterism and prison gang activities. That is how this whole South African Prisoners Organization for Human Rights started. And we didn't know where to start. They then threw us with the ANC constitution and said, guys, you can read and write, you can plagiarize the constitution and make it along the lines of prisoners' rights. That is how this whole thing started. And I still do have those original documents where we plagiarized the ANC constitution and turned it into a prisoners' rights organization. And when I was released, it was then registered as a non-profit organization up to today.